Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Math with Dr. War. We are on algebra practice number 4, and we're going to be looking at a lot of graphs in this section. So we're going to be reading graphs of equations, and I'm going to draw in an inequality in two variables. We're also going to be writing equations in two variables. So this is a lot of graphing. So let's begin. Now, in terms of reading graphs of equations or inequalities, these questions are high emphasis on the Tasc test, yet they're very simple. Now, our first question states that the progress of Paul's hike at the Grand Canyon is shown below. So, notice the graph is labeled hiking elevation. The y-axis is the height above the canyon floor in feet, and then I'm going to look at the interval. So notice it's going 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. So they're counting in 20s, which means that if I had to go in the middle here, and I know they're not asking us anything about in the middle, but if I had to go here in the middle, that would be 30. In the middle here, between 0 and 20 would be 10. So one of the things that I do is I look at my intervals. On the x-axis is time, which is in minutes, and notice these are being counted in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now look at the line. They actually give us an equation. Y equals negative 20x plus 360. Many times when students see the equation, that throws them off. Forget about the equation. What is the question they're asking us? They're asking how high above the canyon floor is Paul after 4 minutes of hiking. So they gave us some information, 4 minutes. We notice that minutes is on the x-axis. We're going to find 4, which is here, and I'm going to go up and touch my line. So I'm touching the line here, and I have to figure out what is that associated value on the y-axis. So I'm going to go across, and that value is 280. So after 4 minutes, Paul is at 280 feet. Now, if you're on the computerized test, there'll be a box and you would just type in 280. That's it. Don't worry about the dimensions. Don't worry about the feet. If you're on the paper-based test, as always, you're just going to write 280 and then you're going to bubble 2, then an 8, and then a 0. That's it. This grid only holds numbers. It does not hold feet. Let's try it again. Here it says the stock price of company A after its initial sale is shown below. What is company A's stock price 5 months after its initial sale? So we have our graph. It says stock price, company A. Our graph is not a straight line, it's curving. Notice they give us the equation y equals negative x squared plus 10x plus 50. When we look at the y-axis, that's the price in dollars. It's going 0, 10, 20, 30, which means that in the middle here would be 5, this would be 10, and this would be 15. The months after initial sale is our x value, and that's going 0, 1, 2, 3, and so forth. The question they're asking is what is company A's stock price 5 months after its initial sale? So the x-axis is your months. I'm going to find 5, which is here. I'm going to go up because you're getting all your information from the graph. And I'm touching right here. and then I'm going to go across. So my answer lies between 70 and 80. I look in my answer choices, and the best answer choice here is C, 75. Because remember, here is 0 to 10, so this has to be 5, 10, 15, 20. So if this is 70, that has to be 75. We're still reading our graphs. So the next question states, which of the following is not a solution to the equation y equals x plus 1 shown by the graph below? So we have a line graph, and then I look at my answer choices and notice that they're all points. So remember, a point is an ordered pair, so you have an x value and a y value. I look at these and I'm like, I don't know which one is not a solution. First thing I would say to myself, if they give me points, I'm going to plot them. So I'm going to start plotting my points. So A is going to be in blue. So that's 1, 1. So starting at the origin, I'm going to go 1 unit to the right, and then I'm going to go 1 unit up. So here is A. B, I have X, Y. B, I'm going to go 1 unit to the right and then 2 units up. 1, 2. So here is B. C, we're going to make that green. So I'm going to go 1, 2 to the right. 1, 2, 3. There's your C. And then D, we have 4, 5. So there's X, there's Y. Starting at the origin, I'm going to go 4 units to the right, and then 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right here. So this is D. So after I plotted them, what would you choose as your answer? Well, I hope you chose A, because notice B, C, and D are on the line. Because they're underlined, that means that they are solutions to this equation. Because A is not underlined, this would be considered not a solution. The last question in this section says, which graph shows the solution of y greater than or equals 3 over 2x plus 1? So the first thing I'm going to focus on is the inequality sign. Because it's greater than or equals to, you're going to have a solid line. So I can eliminate A and I can eliminate B. Now because the inequality sign is greater than or equals to, the shading is going to be above. So I look at C and the shading here is below. So that's eliminated. If we look at D, which is your answer, notice the shading is above. So your answer is D. Let's move on where we're going to look at how do you write equations in two variables. So here, this question states, the results of an experiment testing the effectiveness of a medication in raising the number of antibodies in a sample of blood are shown in the graph at the right. Which of the following equations correctly models the relationship between D, the days that have passed in the experiment, and A, the number of antibodies in the sample of blood? So again, I'm going to look at my graph. Now the antibodies in a sample of blood, this is our y-axis. Days passed in the experiment is my x-axis. Now if you know anything about writing equations, they're usually written in the slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. Always remember that. that the equation of a line is y equals mx plus b. So your equation is going to start with y, and we look at our y-axis and we realize that the antibodies is what's going to be your y. So when we go back to our question here, it said, and A, the number of antibodies in a sample of blood. So your equation should start with A, which means I can eliminate A and B. Next, the easy part of this equation is the B. B is your y-intercept. This is where your graph cuts the y-axis. So we know this is the y-axis, and notice where your line is cutting. Right between 60 and 80. So between 60 and 80, I hope, would be 70. If you look at your answer choices for the B, notice one is 70 and one is 50. Now remember, it's between 60 and 80, so your B has to be 70. Therefore, your answer is D, and I did not have to find the slope. Now, if you want to find the slope, and I'm going to use another color. Remember, we make that triangle. So starting from here, I'm going to go up here and across. So we're assuming that right here is 70. So I'm going from 70 to 120. Well, how many units is if you go from 70 to 120? Well, if you take the difference, that's 50 units. How many units is from here to here? That's 1 unit. Now, when you're finding the slope, it's rise over run. It's 50 over 1, which equals to what? 50. But I didn't need to find the slope because I was able to get my answer just by finding the y-intercept. The graph shows Jerry's hike down Bruce Canyon. Which equation could be used to calculate Jerry's height above the canyon floor, h, in relation to the time in minutes t since he started the hike? When I look at my y's, they're not using y's, they're all h's. So that's good. Wasn't like the previous question. So I know that the equation of the line is y equals mx plus b. I'm going to find my b, which is the y-intercept. So my line is crossing the y-intercept right here at 360. Now I know I put a big old line over that, but let's just underline it at 360. So my B here is a plus 360. It's a positive value. So I'm going to eliminate C because that says minus 360. So my answer is either A, B, or D. This 360 is positive. It's just that they're trying to trick you by writing their equation backwards. Now also to help out, I have to find my slope. But before I find my slope, I'm going to check to see if my slope is positive or negative. So I usually draw a stick person. Going from left to right, This person is walking down, so this is going to be a negative slope. So this is going to be a negative slope. Now we're not using x, we're going to be using t. So this will be negative, and then there's going to be some number here and t. So let's try to eliminate. Now here the 18t is positive, so let's eliminate a. B here, notice this has a negative t. Could be our answer. All right, let's look here, and D has a negative 20t. So this question, they're not making it simple for us. We still have to find the slope. In order to find the slope, I'm just going to pick the easiest 2 points for myself. So I'm going to pick this point here, which is the 360, and then I'm going to come down, and this is also a good point right here. So let me make my triangle, which is from here to here. We're starting at 360 and we're going down to 340. So remember, we're going down. If you go down, that's a negative. So that would be a difference of 20 units. So that's minus 20. Now we're going from left to right. Notice that's 1 unit and it's positive over 1. And negative 20 divided by 1 is negative 20. So our slope is negative 20t. Answer is D. Remember, to find the slope, it is rise over run. Because I had to go down first. That's where we got the negative 20. And then when I ran to the right, that was just 1 unit. And negative 20 divided by 1 is negative 20. And notice they wrote their equation backwards. They wrote it as 360 minus 20t. But when I look, I notice I had a positive 360. And then my slope was a negative 20. Last question. Now this one is a table. So it says the table below shows the cost of riding in a taxi cab where M represents the number of miles driven in the taxi and C represents the total cost in dollars. Which equation below could be used to calculate the total cost of riding in this taxi cab? So again, even though that these are in a table, this is X and this is Y. Now remember, your equation is always Y equals MX plus B, but they're not using Y, they're using C, so that's why it's C equals. Now we gotta find the y-intercept. Now when it's in a table, your y-intercept, I'm gonna write this here. If it's in a table, your y-intercept, you're going to look for when x is 0. And then that's going to give you your y value. So here, when x is 0, y is 2. This is your y-intercept. So this is going to be plus 2. So I'm going to go in. A may be my answer. I can eliminate B because that's a plus 3. C could be my answer, and I can eliminate D because that's plus 3. Your y-intercept is that row that has 0, 2. Now we have to find the slope. So since this is a table, to find the slope is pretty easy. In my videos, I told you how to find the slope given a table. You're going to line them up under each other. So let's give us some room here. Not much. So I'm going to line up, and you can pick any you want. So I'm going to put 1, 5, and 2, 8. So when you line them up under each other, your step is to subtract. So I'm going to subtract over here and here. Okay, now a lot of folks have difficulty subtracting like this. So I usually say, okay, just write it like a number sentence. So this is actually 1 take away 2. 1 take away 2 is -1. Then I have 5 take away 8. 5 take away 8 is -3. Remember that slope is rise over run. So slope would be rise over run, which means it's your y over your x. So this is x, this is y, this is -3. So your slope, and I'm sorry, I don't have any more room, is -3 over -1. And we know 2 negatives gives you a positive. So this is actually 3 over 1, which is +3. So this would be a 3x. But we know x is m. So who has a 3x? C, well, actually a 3m. So your answer is C. I hope these were helpful. As always, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And good luck in your Tasc examination.